How fast are you going, Bernie?
I'm sitting in the back seat, so I have no idea, Ray.
It would not be good if he was driving. Okay, we are ready to go.
Okay, so at this point, then I'll call the meeting to order. And for the land acknowledgement, we would like to acknowledge that the land we stand upon today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the neutral peoples. Can I get a mover and a seconder for confirmation of the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by Deputy Mayor. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? And motion carries. And so, is there any confirmation of the agenda we've done? Any disclosure of pecuniary interest from any member of council this evening? Seeing none at this point. We have a public meeting zoning bylaw amendment. I don't have the actual number. Oh, Z04 of 2025. Can I get a mover and a seconder to go into the public meeting? Moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Deal, that the council of the municipality of Huron East adjourn the regular meeting of council at I've got 6:04 p.m. to go into a public meeting to discuss the zoning bylaw amendment Z04 2025 Omni Quality Living Seaforth Limited Partnership. All those in favor? And motion carries. And then confirmation for the agenda for the public meeting. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Deal, second by Councillor Steffler, that the agenda for the public meeting dated July 28th, 2026 be adopted as circulated. All those in favor? And motion carried. And are there any pecuniary interests for this portion of the meeting? And seeing none. And at this point, I turn it over to the planner for their read on the application.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. I'm just going to try sharing my screen here and hope that it all works. So just give me 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. Are you able to see that okay?
Yeah, it's up and running, Jen.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Just give me 1 second. Sorry. Okay, so tonight both applications that you have in front of you are heavily related. So we have zoning bylaw amendment application Z04 of 2025, and then we also have consent application C68 of 2025. Both applications are on the same property, and so I'm just going to present them as one presentation, but then there will be obviously two separate motions and such. So just give me 1 sec here. Okay, so get started here. So the purpose of the severance that we have first is C68 of 2025, and that is proposing to sever the subject lands for a new lot for the 256-bed long-term care home. And the balance of those lands will continue to be vacant and owned by the Seaforth Hospital Trust. The severed lot is approximately 5 acres in size, and that is the portion of the property that will be rezoned to R3. The retained lot is 3.5 acres in size, and these are all approximate numbers. And that land is currently vacant and will remain zoned as future development. So there's no proposed changes at this time to the retained portion. The conditions are outlined in my planning report, and those are the recommended recommended conditions to go along with the recommendation to the county. Okay, and so here's an air photo of the subject lands. So the severed lands are the lands that we are mostly chatting about today. So those are outlined in red on the air photo here. The lands are currently vacant, as I mentioned, and these are the lands that are subject to be rezoned from our future development zoning to our R3, so our residential high density zoning. So the purpose of the zoning application, so the application is Z04 of 2025, and that proposes to rezone the severed parcel from, as I said, the FD zone to our residential high density zone. So that's the R3 zone, in order to allow for the development of a 256 bed long-term care home on the subject lands. The R3 zone does allow, as of right, a nursing home or a home for the aged. And as such, no site-specific zone provisions are being requested. The rezoning, as I mentioned, only applies to the severed parcel, and the retained parcel will continue to have that FD zone on it. The FD zone is really somewhat of a holding zone, and will just stay in place until there are plans for those lands to be developed at the will of the current property owner. So this is the proposed long-term care home that was provided within the planning report. And so all of this right now is still subject to site plan control, which staff are working with the applicants on to ensure that everything continues to tick along. Here's the draft site plan. It's currently being revised for a couple things, but we're almost good to go on this portion of the development as well, should council be in a position to support both the zoning bylaw amendment and the severance. As far as planning policy goes, both applications meet all of our policy criteria. So the provincial policy statement 2024, both the Huron County and the Huron East plans, and the consent also meets all of this criteria as well. The new lot does front onto an open and maintained road. It's able to be fully serviced. And as such, the consent does conform to both the county and the Huron East plans. As far as the zoning goes, as I had mentioned, no special zoning provisions are being requested or are required. So it's just a straight R3 zone, and the development is able to meet all of those zoning criteria. As far as servicing and stormwater goes, there's currently no concerns. Stormwater is going to be done through their stormwater plan, which will be reviewed by our engineer as well. There are no concerns from any of the studies outstanding, and so it is recommended that it continue to proceed. So as I've mentioned, both applications are consistent with our planning policies and represent good land use in this specific location. Staff are happy to recommend approval of both applications. And so I understand that there may be some technicalities on the fact that this was all presented as one presentation. I think your first order of business is the rezoning, I understand. And then we can go forward with questions regarding the consent. So that is my presentation. Happy to answer any questions. I also note that the owner of the Seaforth, representative from the Seaforth Trust, Hospitals Trust, is on the call, as well as the owner of the long-term care home, and the architects and the planners as well on the other side are also on the call if anyone has any specific questions for any of them too. Thank you.
Sorry, Mayor, I just think you're muted there.
I don't. Next, I will go to, are there any questions from members of the public on the application? Do we have any members of the public even logged into this meeting? I
We
see
do not
head
have
shaking
anybody
no.
online from the public, no.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from the applicant?
I'll
And at this point-
I'll chime in here. Yeah, sorry, my name's Caitlin Crowley, just a planner with Selinka Priamo and the agent for both applications. I just wanted to thank municipal staff and county staff for their continued support on this. We've been working well with them alongside to bring this to council today. I also appreciate council's time today to bring this forward to a special council meeting. So just kind of wanted to add that. And Omni is a very reputable firm. We're excited to bring a new long-term care home to Seaforth. Again, the Omni team is here as well to answer any questions. Thanks.
Oh, Caitlin, you just hit your mute button there. And
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was just concluding. The Omni team and myself are happy to answer any questions as well.
So at this point, recommendations will present following the, so the public meeting is zoning bylaw amendment. So I need a mover and a seconder to close this portion of the meeting. Do I have a couple of hands? I move by Councillor Deal, second by Councillor Dalton. All those in favor? And motion carries. So now we go to the recommendation for the zoning bylaw said.
I'm not getting Bernie at all, folks. I don't know if anybody else is.
Sorry, Councillor Fisher, I just think he keeps cutting out a little bit. We are going on to the recommendation for zoning planning bylaw amendment. I'm not sure if Deputy Mayor McClellan wants to jump in a little bit to handle this portion. Well, Mayor McClellan is frozen at this point.
Sure, I can carry on. So that's 6.1, I think, on our agenda. And if Bernie comes back, I'll quit talking. So the recommendation for the zoning bylaw amendment Z04 2025 for Omni Quality Living Seaforth Limited Partnership. I'm looking for a motion here next to whereas the Council of the Municipality of Huron East has held a public meeting pursuant to Section 3412 of the Planning Act 1990 with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw Z04 2025. Can I have a mover and a seconder before I carry on? Councillor Chartrand and Councillor Steffler. And whereas no public comments were received on this application, and whereas no agency comments were received on this application, now therefore pursuant to Section 3418 of the Planning Act 1990, Council concurs with the date 2025 planning report. Should I have a date in there, Megan? Should I or not? And recommend that the bylaw 076 2026 for approval.
Yeah, so that was just planning report dated July 23rd, 2026. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Any more clarification from council? If not, we've got mover or seconder. All those in favor of that motion? Anybody opposed? I don't see any. That motion is carried.
Hold on one second. We did have a hand raised. Councillor Willoughby, did you have a question or were you just voting?
I was just voting
Perfect. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
because I'm invisible. Okay.
Yep. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan, for pointing that out. So I think we're down to 6.2 on our agenda. The planning report, consent application C63 2025. I need a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Deal and Councillor Morrison. That the Council of the Municipality of Huron East acknowledge the report of Huron County Planner Jen Burns dated July 23rd, 2026, and has no objections to the consent application C63, 2025, provided the conditions as outlined in the report are met. Comments or questions on that motion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? I don't see anything. That motion is carried. It's all right to carry on there, Megan. I don't see Bernie back yet or not. Okay, I'll carry on. So we're down to number 7 on our agenda, and that's the bylaw. I need a mover or a seconder for that bylaw in front of you, 76. That looks like Councillor McGrath. How are you doing tonight? Need a seconder, please. Councillor Deal. That it hereby be resolved that bylaw 76, 2026, a bylaw to amend the zoning on part lot 24 concession 1, being part 1, 22R 5137 McKillop, be passed. Comments or questions on that bylaw? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That appears to be carried. Thank you very much. Now we'll move along to number 8, confirmation bylaw. Need a mover and seconder to confirm what we've done here. Councillor Newell and Councillor Chartrand.
Deputy Mayor, please.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Fisher. Go ahead.
I have a question for the Omni rep, if I may, before we wrap up, if that's possible, please.
Certainly, you have the floor.
To the Omni rep, thank you very, very, very much for coming to Seaforth. And I wonder if you had a timeline on construction. A couple of years, would it be, sir? Or ma'am?
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. Just before I get into the timelines, I want to echo what Caitlin, our planner, said. On behalf of Omni, I want to express our sincere gratitude to the council and this community for the opportunity to bring much needed long-term care beds here. We recognize the significant need in this region, and this development will also bring the added benefit of meaningful careers. So with your support, we are ready to begin construction almost immediately. We've been fortunate to engage great partners on this project, including D Grant, Cornerstone, Zelenka Priamo, whose expertise will help us advance this. You're absolutely right. It's about a 2-year construction cycle with about a couple of months to commission and get the actual furnishings ready to be able to welcome our first resident. So it's about a 2-year end-to-end cycle with a couple of months added on to that. And I want to thank the trustees of the Hospital Trust for the partnership as well and their continued collaboration. And obviously a heartfelt thank you to Jessica and Jen and their teams for all their amazing support throughout this process. And we look forward to breaking ground and welcoming our first resident in approximately 2 years.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any other comments or questions before we move along? I'm sorry I didn't ask that earlier. Just put your hand up or speak. Seeing none, then we'll move along to the, where were we at? The confirmation. Did we pass that, Megan?
No.
We just got to move it in a second.
We've got a mover and a seconder, so no, we have not passed that yet.
Okay. That it hereby be resolved that bylaw 77 for 2026, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be passed. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? I see none. That is carried. And now for adjournment, Councillor Fisher and Councillor Chartrand. That the time now being 6:20, what I have on my computer, that the regular meeting now adjourn until August the 11th at 2026 at 6 p.m. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending. Thank you, staff, for everything. Thank you for all the guests online. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. So good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.